She is an actress who played in the Oscar-winning film Django Unchained, and she is mad as hell about being detained by the LA police.
Bonjour.
Bonsoir, petite femme noire. We're here to see Mr. Calvin Candy.
Extra.
That's Danielle Watts, who's now in the spotlight because she says the LAPD detained her because they allegedly thought she was a prostitute. And her white boyfriend was the John after they were seen by a complainant kissing and really making out in their car with the door open. Here is the exchange between her and the officer on audio tape.
Somebody called the police saying that there was lewd acts in the car.
No lewd acts happening.
Doesn't matter, I have to ID you.
We're not doing anything.
Somebody called?
I'm on the phone with my dad. This is my boyfriend.
Okay, I want to see your ID. Somebody called, which means gives me the right to be here. So it gives me the right to identify you by law.
I've been called, the cops have been called just for being black. It's because we're black and he's white. I'm just being really honest.
Who brought up a race card?
I'm bringing it up because
I said nothing about you being black. And I have every right to ask your ID.
And I have every right to say no. And if you'd like
to, you do not have every right to say no.
You can take me down to the court office and I can make a scene about it.
No.
And you know what? I have a publicist and I work as an actor on this studio.
I'm mildly interested. You have a publicist, but I'm going to get your ID.
I'm mildly interested you have a publicist, and I'm going to get your ID. Earlier on New Day, Watts defended her actions. Have a listen.
So the police show up. I'm outside of the car at this point talking to my dad on the phone. And he comes to speak to Brian and asks for my ID. He doesn't even talk to me, asks Brian for my ID. And when I overhear that while I'm on the phone, I interrupt them and I say to Brian, I say, no, he will not be giving you my ID because I haven't done anything wrong. And I know that I'm not required to do that. I'm talking to my dad, nothing personal, but I'm walking away.
Judge Alex Ferrer is here with us now to work me through this one. So let's just talk about the ID issue, because this has also come up with a reporter, and I'll just throw the race in there, a white reporter in Ferguson who was asked by a police officer, show me your ID, and he refused, and things got ugly.
Right.
Do we have to show our ID if a police officer asks us?
Yes and no. I mean, it depends on what information the police officer has, because police officers have a right to come up and investigate whether you're involved in a crime. In this scenario, what you have to remember is they received a call from somebody, and it wasn't people are kissing in the car. The call they received was there's a lewd sexual act being performed by a white and black couple in a car.
Which, by the way, the white and black part shouldn't make any difference in this entire scenario.
Exactly. Other than when he showed up, I believe he said to them, look, we were called and told there was a white male with a black female in the car performing lewd sexual acts. That might just be to tell them that's the reason I'm stopping you and not somebody else.
Description.
Exactly, the description. But they're responding to a complaint that there's a sexual act being performed in a car. So they have a right to demand identification. Now, from your perspective, you're like, wait a minute, I haven't done anything wrong. But as long as they have a reasonable suspicion that some offense is being committed, they have a right to demand the identification.
So I can completely understand Danielle. I mean, you just saw the picture of her. She's just devastated.
And she was great in Django, by the way. She was awesome.
One of my faves, especially the French part of it. But I can understand how devastated she would be being mistaken for a prostitute when she was just with her boyfriend. But she was asked about the kind of act that she was engaged in by Michaela Pereira, my very astute colleague, live on New Day, and she really kind of ducked that one. She didn't say what it was.
No, she said, I can do anything. As long as I have my clothes on.
I can do anything. Let me ask you this as well. Since you've been in law enforcement and you have been in every courtroom with every single thing that's come across your bench, when someone says, I have a publicist and I'm an actress, is that sort of tantamount to, don't you know who I am?
Yeah, it's kind of like, I'm friends with the chief. It doesn't really get you. I thought the police officer handled it very well. He said, I'm mildly interested in the fact that you have a publicist, but I'm still going to need to see your ID.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe celebrities, it may be that she's had run-ins with law enforcement before in circumstances that weren't justified.
So she brought that up.
Yeah.
She said, do you know how many times the police have been called because I'm black? And then the officer, I think it sounded like he took offense and said, You just pulled a race card.
Yeah.
But I can see where she's coming from because it's no secret. There is a problem.
You and I have
with
had
the
this
police and the
discussion
Black community
before.
and their relationship.
It's a matter of perspective.
Yes.
People who have been stopped by the police and feel it was wrongfully or racially motivated have that perspective, and they will see the Ferguson scenario in one way. People who haven't will see it in another way, and same with this case.
So let me ask you this. Isn't it a little bit like the DUI scenario where you don't have to blow in to the device on the scene, but it means you're going to the Hooskow for a while. Like you can make your choice, but you can't complain about what happens after. If you don't give your ID, something's going to happen. You're not just going to walk away.
This is what I tell my children, and we're going to see a lot more cases like this because
Did you just say this is what you tell your children?
Yes. Not about DUI. This is what I tell my children. If a police officer stops you and you think they're acting inappropriately, still comply. Because you can beat the rap, but you can't beat the ride. If they arrest you, you're still going to jail.
So let me give you the...
you can complain later.
You can complain later, but you can't complain if you don't give the ID. The LAPD, by the way, gave us this statement. There was an indication on a radio call that, I hate this, a male white and a female black. I hate when people are called, you know, as a noun by the color. Were involved in a sexual act inside a Mercedes with the vehicle door open. 2 people were briefly detained, but it was revealed no crime has been committed. Period. And that's all they said.
Now, mind you, if she'd given her ID right away, that would have ended in about 30 seconds.
Lesson learned. Thank you for giving us the lesson you give your children. Alex Farrow, it's good to see you.
Always
Thanks
a pleasure.
for being here. Hey, thanks for watching.